So mute হয়েছে কোনো কোয়া নাই কেন
আহিছে নেকি বাইদেউ? Yes.
Good morning to all.
Good morning, Professor Saxena.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. What about you?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Okay. We are just starting.
Yeah. Sure, sir. Sure.
Can we start now?
Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining this virtual workshop on innovation and creativity in distance and open learning. So I wish everyone a very good morning to start the proceeding today. And we have very eminent resource person to speak on the theme of this workshop. But before I move on to the proceeding, I would like to request our Vice Chancellor, Professor Nipendranayan Sharma, to inaugurate with his brief remark this virtual workshop.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Joydeep Burwa. Good morning, Professor Korunesh Saxena, the esteemed members of Academic Council who are present, the distinguished writers of our self-learning material, content editor, language editors, translators, whoever is present, and my esteemed colleagues in the academics and administration of KK State Open University. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to this virtual meeting on creativity and innovation. And the discussion is being led by Professor Korunesh Saxena. And as we all know, the September 4, 2020 guidelines, as well as the 2017 guidelines of UGC, stressed highly on creativity and innovation. So that is more or less, we need to institutionalize it. But in terms of institutionalizing creativity and innovation, we all are part of a system. And in this system, to what extent creativity and innovation is facilitated, that we'll have to understand. We are part of a macro environment. The country India, the word India, if the first letter I should have stood for innovation, that would have been wonderful. But in the world, we are not known as a country of innovation, but we are highly known as a country of improvisation. In Hindi, which is called as Juggar. So here is the country in which we are mostly we are for improvisation rather than innovation. So that is yet to be institutionalized. And in terms of innovation, we talk about breakthrough innovation, incremental innovation, grassroots level innovation, step by step, and possibly our kind of institutions are mostly congenial for step-by-step Kaizen type of improvements, rather than going for breakthrough or those kind of big innovations. But if those could have been institutionalized, right, and if we could have been able to take the risks, possibly, who knows, would have been able to create miracles. Whatsoever, basically, it calls for spanning of the boundaries. We'll have to think about the shifting the orbit. So the innovators are known as orbit shifters. So for this orbit shifting kind of phenomenon, it requires a culture. And that culture, it's a phenomenon, and that doesn't take place overnight. It requires inculcation, it requires continuous nourishment, and it also requires that I, means the individuals in the groups, I in the we, also will have to stand for to some kind of an innovator. If continually we ourselves and the I within us, if we can continually strive for innovation, ultimately to some extent we can make some contribution towards the development of innovation culture. As the saying goes, internal leads to the external. Whether we are going to be constrained by the external process, limiting ourselves, being a part of the overall bureaucratized process, or are we going to break the boundaries, orbit shifting, boundary spanning, and to what extent we shall draw the limit, delimiting ourselves at the same time, going for something new, going for some kind of creativity, innovation. That possibly is the call of the day in the kind of scenario, the kind of environment in which we are operating. Because in this kind of an environment, if we are going to take some absolute risks, changing something in a very radical manner, breakthrough manner, possibly the results, the consequences sometimes could be drastic also. So a drastic rise might lead to drastic fall. So from that perspective, step by step, continuous, those kind of improvements in our thinking, in our actions, in our processes, and that's is one of the realistic. The reality is that many of the cases we are not being governed by the philosophies. Someone has asked us that you document your best practices, so we keep on looking for our best practices, and then we try to document. Possibly the things should have been the reverse, that we continually are doing the best practices, and then the best practices will lead us towards those kind of things. So the philosophy is in thinking rather than the methods, processes, procedures, and that's a kind of culture which we all should strive for. And while striving for that kind of a culture, the I in us, we should think about that aspect first. Then possibly we can think about moving others, moving the system forward. That locus of control we should seriously think about in terms of creativity, in terms of innovation. So with this brief introduction, I'd like to wish you all the best and would like to conclude my remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for inaugurating with these crisp and focused remarks on innovation and why we should actually think about it, and also highlighting the point that it should be more systemic and internal rather than exogenous. So we move to the main proceeding of this workshop. We have amidst us Professor Korunesh Saxena to conduct this workshop as a key speaker. He is currently the Vice Chancellor of Sangam University, Bhilwara, Rajasthan. He was ex-director, IQAC and CDC of ML Sukhadia University, Udaipur, Rajasthan. He has more than 35 years of corporate and academic experience. He has served a number of universities, Dr. H.S. Gore University, Sagar and Madhya Pradesh, Bikram University, Vijayan, Jammu University, and also IGNOU. He was ex-chair professor of ICCR, and under this assignment, he completed one term as a chair professor in Papua New Guinea. He has created over 200 educational films for UGC. He has wide range of publication to his credit. At present, a MOOC on business statistics is being run on SWAYAM platform designed by him. So he's an expert resource person for Commonwealth of Learning, NAC, UGC, AICTE, etc. Recently, he was also nominated by UGC to the High Power Committee for Implementation of National Education Policy 2020 and also PhD regulation that is 2022, which is coming in subsequent period. So we are very fortunate to have Professor Saxena amidst us to conduct this workshop. So I now hand over this session to Saxena, but before that, let me quickly remind our participants the format that Professor Saxena will be speaking for about, say, 30-35 minutes, and which will be followed by interaction with the participants. And then I request all the participants to keep ready their questions, be very focused and brief. And if possible, they can actually start writing their questions in the chat box so that we can, without losing much time, we can finish this session within time. So with these words, I hand over this session to Professor Saxena. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and very good morning to all of you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor N.N. Sarma Sahab, Professor Joydeep, Dr. Dopati Chaudhary, and all the participants who are able to listen to me on a very relevant theme. And because I have worked at IGNOU as Associate Professor and Area Chairman, Operations Management, way back in 1996, I would like to incorporate some of the practical suggestions that you can implement in your own day-to-day working to make your own performance highly productive and effective. So this is going to be a practical session, and we are going to have some presentation in the first 30 minutes, followed by interlude of some questions, answers. This is basically to break the monotony of online lectures, and so that in between we have some question answer session. Then we can carry forward from there, and another 20-25 minutes I'll speak. Then again we'll have longer duration available for question answers. My only constraint is that I have got a very important meeting with some of the stakeholders of the university. So I would like to be excused around 12:15. So that's all. That's the only constant which I have already explained to Dr. Dopati. Now, let me share my screen with you. Give me a second. I hope the video and sound both are coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
आवाज ज्यादा हो रहा है। So you have seen this small video, and now we are once again going to start. The theme given to me is creativity and innovation in open and distance learning. Following this presentation of mine, which I gave in Bangkok a few years ago, I named it Creativity at Workplace. So this is going to be the structure of my presentation. But let me take up one important issue right now as to what is the difference between innovation and creativity. Because we are using both the terms in our topic today. So creativity is what you breathe in, and innovation is what you breathe out. जो सांस हम अंदर लेते हैं वो क्रिएटिविटी होते हैं, Was there some break in the meeting?
Yes, for a minute. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm once again beginning. What I'm telling you was that creativity is what you breathe in and innovation is what you breathe out. And so that means that creativity is the input and innovation is the output. So that is a very important lesson for all of you. If you want, you can write down in your notebook that creativity is the input and innovation is the output. So what we need you to do, we need you to be creative. And then your creativity will be reflected in terms of your output and outcome. And that would be the innovation. Innovation, in other words, can be the ability to apply existing theoretical knowledge in a creative manner. Now, let me begin with a story. All of us have studied this story of a thirsty cow. That there was a very small container which was having less water, and the crow was not able to reach that level. So he starts putting pebbles in it and till the level of the water comes up to him, and then he satisfies his thirst. But few days ago, I had come across a particular book on creativity and innovation. And the title of that was that a smart crow never goes thirsty. And on the cover page of that book was the picture that there is a crow and there is that container with less volume of water. But then a smart crow is using actually straw. So that you can say is the application of creativity in terms of the innovative outcomes. When we talk about open and distance learning, we need to be highly creative and highly innovative, as the Honorable Vice Chancellor in his opening remarks has already underlined the fact that it will definitely give you an upper edge over other educational institutions if we are able to implement creativity and innovation in our working. So coming back to this presentation, now let me tell you that our structure would be like this as to what is creativity. Then we'll talk about creative personality, and especially we'll talk about what are those mental locks that block creativity. Then we will discuss creative development process, and also we'll talk about tips for enhancing creativity. Creative development techniques I will not cover today because that requires somewhat in-depth discussion and for which we may not have the time. So my presentation to you will be on these first four aspects. So let us start with the first section as to what is creativity. creativity is reorganization of experiences into new configurations. It is also a function of knowledge, imagination, and evaluation. If you ask any lyricist that how he or she is able to compose a lyric or a poem or any creative work, or if you ask a painter that how he can create such beautiful paintings. So this is something I would say very abstract and intangible also. You might have understood that sometimes we are having this particular situation that when we are having this particular situation that a creative person is not able to produce anything for days together, and while he gets sudden illuminating idea, and on any other day he may just create a very good poem or very good lyric in only a matter of 15 minutes or 10 minutes only. And so this is a mystery also. In this lecture, we are going to try to unravel that mystery, that what is this creativity, and how can we make use of it in our life. So in order to delve deeper into the field of creativity, we should understand that there are three domains of creativity. Domain number one is the aesthetic part of it. So we call it the creativity as reflected in art, as in beauty. And so as soon as we see something beautiful, then immediately our reaction is, ah, what a beautiful thing. Then second domain of creativity is in discovery. It is sometimes the scientific discovery. It is sometimes the discovery with regards to some innovations and inventions. And you might have learned the term Eureka. And so discovery gives you enlightenment. And all of a sudden, everything was misty and unclear and vague. But then as soon as you discover, then all of a sudden, like the lightning, the things become crystal clear and your expression comes as aha. So that is the expression mixed with surprise also. You need creativity for creating humor also. You ask these comedians, stand-up comedians, and so many of the creative persons who are involved in this business, it is very, very difficult to make others laugh. So humor gives joyful pleasure. And of course, it results in a wholehearted laugh, ha ha ha, like that. So these are the three domains of creativity. So friends, I was telling you that creativity is the input, innovation is the output, creativity is what you breathe in, innovation is what you breathe out, and it is very difficult to pinpoint the creativity as it is more abstract and intangible. But yes, it gets reflected in its you can say outcome. And so I have told you that these are the three domains of creativity. I have also shared with you this story of the smart crow who was using a straw in order to drink water, and not that is replacing hard work with smart work. So you also can do the same in your day-to-day working areas, that although we say that there is no replacement or there is no substitute for hard work, but on any given day, to my mind, smart work is better than the hard work. So from here, let's proceed further for another 10 minutes, and then I'll open the session for question, answer, and discussion. Now you see here, creative thinking. You see the jar on the left-hand side, where all the fishes are there. And these fishes are quite contented in the water. Then there is one fish which is not satisfied. She wants to experiment newer. She wants to test newer waters and newer domains. And so she is taking the risk. Creative thinking leads to risk also. Because you see, there is a gap between the two jars. And there is all the risk that this fish may fall in this vacant space. And in the want of water, she may die also. In spite of that, she is trying to take a jump and trying to experience something new. That is a good depiction of creative thinking. Creativity is a gift in each of us. We are talking about the first segment. What is creativity, right? It is a flame that burns within us, making us all special and unique. I am of the firm belief that each and every individual who has taken birth as a human being, everyone is creative. Only thing is that some harness this creativity inside them to become much more sharp and much more result oriented, and some of them ignore their inbuilt creativity. But everyone, every individual is creative. Creativity is a decision. You have to decide that you want to be creative. So creativity is a decision. It is necessary that we recognize and value creativity as a way of life. And so I'm very happy that your university has chosen this particular topic, creativity and innovation in open and distance learning. Because this is the need of the hour. And we have to recognize this as a way of life. Like, for example, every day we take breakfast and lunch and dinner, same way we need to have the dose of creativity also. A new idea is no more than a combination of known elements. So from where the creativity will come? Creativity will come from your life's experiences only. And so that is why it is mentioned that it is nothing but a combination of known elements. What you have experienced, that you have to use it in some unique combination, you can say. And you see this game here, board game here, where the youngest infants, rather 5-6 years of age, they are given this box, and then we see that how creatively they they combine them together to create newer structures and all. Logical linear thinking is an essential life skill. That is there in all of us. But so that is in the box thinking. That is conventional thinking, conservative thinking. In this kind of thinking, the role of creativity is minimal. But then for 21st century success, you need creative big picture thinking. And the first slide that I have shown you, that the fish not contained in one jar is jumping to go to the other jar, that is what is actually creativity. So this is called out of the box thinking. Creativity, innovation, out of the box thinking, jugaad, all of them are closely related. I have been telling you about the relationship between creativity and innovation. Now let us take an example of out of the box thinking. I want to share with you all a particular story. This is regarding Mullah Nasruddin. Mullah Nasruddin is a very famous character. There are so many stories about him on internet. I want to share with all of you one such particular story about Mullah Nasruddin. He was going to perform Hajj, riding his own camel. In the middle of the desert, he came across 3 young persons. They were all crying. So Mullaji, being a kind-hearted person, he came down from his camel and asked them what has happened. Those were real brothers actually, and they informed him that our father has died recently and he has left a puzzle in the will for which they were given 7 days to solve. Otherwise, the whole of the wealth will go to the charitable organizations. And they informed that today is the 7th day. And they were not able to solve the puzzle so far, so they were crying. Mullaji asked them as to what is the puzzle. Then the brothers informed him that our father has left 17 camels in his will. 17 camels. And he has given half of them to the eldest brother, 1/3 to the middle brother, 1/9 to the small brother, youngest brother. 17 camels are there, 1/7, 1/2, 1/3, 1/9, like that. And he has mentioned one line also in the will that the cutting of camels into pieces is not allowed. Now these brothers informed him that, sir, we don't know much, but we know mainly that the situation with regard to 17 being a prime number and hence indivisible. And so that is why we are not able to do the needful in this regard. Now what is happening? Mullaji also tried a lot. He looked around and then he was also not able to come out with any solution. But then all of a sudden his eyes fell on his own camel and immediately he got an idea. Just like in discovery, I was telling you, discovery domain. He got enlightenment immediately. He said, why don't you take my camel? All the 3 brothers refused. They said, sir, how can we take your camel? You are going to perform Hajj. You will not be able to go and we'll be called sinners. But Mullaji insisted, you take my camel. What happens now? 17 camels were already there. Mullaji added his own camel also. So 17 plus 1, 18. Now he called the eldest brother and he asked him, half of 18, these are 9 camels, you take. Then he invited the middle brother, 1/3 of 18, 6 camels, you take. Then he invited the youngest brother, 18/9, 1/9 was to be given to the youngest brother. So 18/9, 2 camels to the youngest brother. Now Mullaji said, 9, 6, 15 और 2, 17, मेरा ऊंट मुझे दो, मैं हज को चला. Meaning thereby that 9 camels to the eldest brother, 6 camels to the middle brother, 2 camels to the youngest brother, and return back my camel so that I can go to perform Hajj. A very good example of creativity can be seen here. Out of the box thinking can be seen here. That is where you find that Mullaji was a very creative person who was able to apply out of the box thinking to these situations. Now I take a small break, and Dopati, you can take up the anchoring and request the participants, your Professor Joydeep or Dopati, whomsoever is taking up the anchoring, for encouraging participants to ask the questions. Your questions can be in terms of what creativity you are applying in the workplace, what problems you are facing, and I can give you many tips for increasing your creativity. So you can take up from here. I am available for the next 5 to 7 minutes for question answers. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. So now for 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes, now the session is open for the questions. Already some important themes have been highlighted regarding creativity, which is the first theme of this workshop. So I request all the participants to either unmute yourself and ask straightforward, or you can put in the chat box also the questions that you might have in your mind. Please, because this is a workshop, so your participation is essential. So you need to ask the questions to the resource person so that he can actually provide the inputs. The sir. Sarma sir, you want to, yes.
Professor Saxena, suppose writing the SLM, right? Many times we have to work within boundaries. 3,500 words, learning objectives, what have you learned, check your progress, answers to the check your progress, let us discuss, questions, and all this, right? We have to work within boundaries and everything is defined. What will be the scope of creativity and innovation in writing SLM?
Very correct, sir. Very interesting question you have got. In fact, the IGNOU as well as other state open universities, they provide structured training to the content writers for SLM, and creativity and innovation can play a very vital role here, in the sense that by being within these boundaries itself, some of the pictorial things can be used, and so more of the non-verbal things can be used. Some of the pictures and their appreciation of those pictures can be asked. Similarly, some of the exercises that we are giving to our learners, distance learners, those exercises need not be theoretical in nature. We can give them some live projects and live exercises to go out into the, for example, if environment management students are there, and so we can give them one of the exercise that you have to go to the nearby water body and check the pollution level available in the water there. So that can be one way of looking at it. Sir, on a Commonwealth of Learning assignment, I was sent to Sri Lanka, and in Sri Lanka there is a university called University of Peradeniya, and there I have given the training to the young teachers of University of Peradeniya and Kandy for about a week on ODL systems and all. And so there we were talking about that this SLM need not always be in the print format, and we can make use of our SLM in the soft copy format also. And when we are using this soft format, then the role of creativity and innovation increases many folds. And that is where they can make use of OERs, open education resources, and they can have more interaction and interactivity planned with the learners. So this is very briefly to give answer to your question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, please.
So just from my side, this is Joydeep. So yeah, I mean, what you are actually suggesting, it seems to me that we have to work within the boundaries. So there are two things can happen in terms of creativity. Either you try to tweak and change the boundaries and push it further, or you try to do something within the boundary itself. So in these two contexts, how do you see the emerging role of newer and newer kind of technology? I think technology can play an instrumental role in actually, putting this creativity into place in both the situations. So that will be one line of thinking probably.
Yes, technology is going to be the game changer. I agree with you. And actually, sometimes it requires what I often use in UGC committees and all, the term called BPR. That is business process reengineering. That we introduce dramatic changes, radical redesigning for achieving dramatic improvements, right? So that can be the one extreme. Okay, and the other extreme could be that within the given boundaries we are making use of some routine kind of changes in our system, so that wherever possible we can become more and more creative. But when we want to use technology in a big way, then I would say BPR can be the solution. A very good example I want to give you is that I was in IGNOU in 1996, right? At that time already the teleconferencing was happening. Then when I was about to leave, I was there for about a year, then I shifted to Udaipur. At that time, they were experimenting with video conferencing. So teleconferencing was one-way video, two-way audio, and video conferencing was two-way video, two-way audio, like the way what we are doing in Zoom here right now, something like that. And so 97 IGNOU was experimenting with video conferencing, which in subsequent years they have started. Now, more recently, because still I'm maintaining linkage with IGNOU, and Vice Chancellor has been my director in Ujjain for 6-7 years, Professor Nageshwar Rao. So we have worked together earlier in Ujjain. I know that now they are offering online programs. So I would call this is a major BPR, major change, radical redesigning. So that can be there, because there the technology can really be a dominant player here in an online delivery of the course and all. So this is how we have to think. So we have to provide a certain amount of flexibility and freedom to our content writers, also to our creative persons, so that they are not even if they violate some of the guidelines, then still we have to look at the broader picture, that if it is making sense, we have to accept that. That is my idea here, sir. We have got a question in chat.
Yeah. I have got two.
Yeah.
So one is by Professor Jayanta Kumar Sharma of the university. He is writing that what we understand here is that non-creative person can become creative one by thinking out of the box. All right. So it is important to identify therefore the problem first. So the question is that how do you actually try to identify the problem in the ODL system? Because most of the time we cannot find the problem itself, so therefore we cannot think out of the box. So most important thing is to actually identify the problem. So that's the question.
Very good question. This is Jayant Kumarji. Let me tell you that I wrote a paper, and that was presented in ICDL also, International Conference of Distance Learning, by one of my fellow paper writer, Professor Naval Kishore, who is still there in IGNOU and a senior academic in the School of Management Studies, SOMS there in IGNOU. So there in that paper, I highlighted that student is the kingpin of the distance learning system. And if we have to improve the system, then we have to try to connect with the student in whatever manner. And I'm telling you that I'm talking about 20 years ago. And now I was referring to the other thing, WhatsApp groups are possible and all, second chat I was seeing. And so now the technology is very much on our side. And so this is possible to identify the problem by developing a very strong and vibrant connect with the students, so that we come to know that what are the practical problems they are facing. And then we can think in terms of how we can apply our out-of-box thinking to take care of those problems and those issues. This was my first experience when I wrote this paper, and it was published also in a good journal. Second experience of mine was with SEMCA. So this Commonwealth of Learning SEMCA, I developed as a part of the consultancy assignment, I developed a quality assurance toolkit. So quality assurance toolkit for distance learning institutions, which was developed jointly by myself and Manas Ranjan Panigre, Dr. Manas Ranjan of SEMCA. I came across Professor N.N. Sharma during the workshops there itself. So in that toolkit also, I highlighted that the main problem in distance learning is that, what is the problem? Meaning thereby that we are not able to identify the problem in a pinpointed manner. And then once you identify the problem, then you can take steps to remedy it. And so this is a very genuine question that has been asked by Jayant Kumarji, must be a senior academic in your university. And the main purpose is that we have to connect with our students, our learners, and try to get an idea from them about what the problems are, and then apply out-of-box thinking to give solutions to those problems. Right. So second one also you can please read out. That is from Bhaskar.
Yeah. Yeah, so he has written that we have also made a few innovative practices like WhatsApp, Telegram group and all. And then he is writing again that, sir, if we implement an innovative solution initially followed by another university, will it be called an innovative solution in any mode? I mean, if you are following, then whether can it be called an innovation or a kind of a duplication? So that's the question.
Actually, every university's context is different. If you are simply the right word said by Professor Joydeep is the duplicating. If you are simply duplicating without applying your own mind and without improvising and adapting it to your own institution's needs and learners' needs, so then yes, it will not be called innovation. But if you are in a position to apply even the innovative practice followed by other university, if you want to apply with proper improvisation, with proper changes, then it will still be called an innovation, because the idea is that you are you are not only a copycat, and you are only taking up those aspects which are really needed in your organization to improve the situation. Number one. Number two is that you have adapted them to your local area conditions. So this is the answer to this question.
May I ask anything?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Bhatto. Bhaskar Bhatto said this.
Sir, innovation is like a the value addition. Can it be said like a value addition, sir?
I would not say that these two are synonym, but yes, I would say that if you are innovative, then value gets added. So all the time, every time you are innovative, the value gets added. But then every time you are adding value may not be innovative. So that is how you have to look at it. And I think that in order for you to be innovative, you have to keep an eye on what kind of outcomes you are going to get. Is it really going to add value to our existing system or not? And sometimes we will have to also perform kind of a cost benefit analysis. And sometimes we may have to perform social cost benefit analysis also, SCBA, because the point is that too many experimentations and too frequently can also create confusion and chaos in the system. And so it has to be done in a systematic and very deliberate manner only. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
So we proceed further because I think we have taken more time than was originally intended for this question answer session.
Right, sir. Right.
It was worthwhile, I think.
Yeah,
it was worthwhile. Let's proceed further. Now, I was telling you that there are certain mental locks that block creativity. There are some problems, right, that we have to take care of. So there are some quotations. One is by Albert Einstein. A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new. And so don't worry, even if you make mistakes, because you are trying something new, and so that is quite pardonable. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up. This is a very, very important quotation, and by none other than Picasso, the famous painter. Creative personality is that personality that is where you are able to generate large number of ideas. You can look at the problem from different perspectives. You can handle ambiguity. You have intellectual abilities. You have adequate knowledge not only of creativity and innovation on the one hand, but of the open and distance learning on the other hand also. And you should have the confidence as well. But in order to be more creative, there are certain mental locks that block creativity. First such problem is that looking for the right answer. In the field of creativity and innovation, there are no the answers. right? So there is no the right answer. Second is always trying to be logical. If you always try to be logical, then you kill and curb creativity. Third is that tendency to strictly follow the rules. Like I was telling, I was responding to Professor Joydeep that in the process of being creative and innovative, if certain this thing structure of the SLM is certain in a small measure it is violated, but then the total picture is making some sense and is logical or is good, so then we can proceed. Insist on being practical. Family members also tell the younger members of the family who want to take up creative fields that be practical. First you become engineer and join a job and then start earning, then creativity etc. can wait. Something like that. Becoming too specialized. If you are focusing on being too much specialized, then also creativity is curbed. Not wanting to look foolish. Many a times people get a lot of creative ideas in meetings and otherwise also, but then they don't express those ideas because of the fear that they think that people will look upon them as foolish. Saying I am not creative is also a mental block. It is kind of an auto-suggestion. I have told you that everyone is creative. Everyone can be creative if they want. Avoiding ambiguity. People are afraid of this reason of creativity. So my question to you is that which of these mental locks typically stifle your own creativity? What can you do to avoid them? This is something very important, which you can either note down in your notebook or you take a click of this slide, that you ask yourself that out of the previous points I was telling, which all the problems that you face in your own life, that what are the locks that are there to block your creativity, and how can you unlock those things in order to be more and more creative. Like I told you in the beginning that my lecture is not theoretical, but it is highly practical in terms of that we are talking about the practical ways of how you can become more and more creative. There is virtually no problem you cannot solve. No goal you cannot achieve. If you know how to apply the creative powers of your mind. Now, creativity development process. It involves 4 stages. The first stage is exploring. Exploring is questioning and challenging the premises. Very good question Honorable Vice Chancellor has asked in the beginning, and that set the tone actually for the question answer session. And so this kind of exploration is required. Next is inventing. Now here you have to make connections. Here you have to think in terms of out of the box thinking also, and look around and try to make logical connections. I would say that connecting the dots. Third is selecting. Selecting is playing with ideas, keeping options open. So many alternatives you may be having, selecting one. And last is implementation. That how to apply the idea that you have selected, and then how can you increase the learning in new ways and contexts. This term incubation is also very important in the field of creativity and innovation. You know that now the NEP and NAC and all those NIRF, etc., Atal Ranking, they are all focusing on incubation centers to be established in the organizations. You as a university will have to think more creatively and innovatively that how can you develop incubation centers in your own universities, and how can you involve your distance learners with these incubation centers, either in the physical mode or in the virtual mode. So this can be one such area of exercise for the university as a whole to proceed further. I come to the last segment of my lecture today, that is tips for enhancing creativity. I said everybody is creative. Everybody can be creative. They have the potential for being creative. Only thing is that they have to recognize that hidden creativity inside them, and they have to enhance this creativity. So what are some of the practical tips for enhancing creativity? Always keep a notepad around to write down your thoughts. Let me tell you that I can give you my own example, that whenever I go to bed in the night, I get so many ideas that tomorrow I have to do this, tomorrow I have to do that, and so on. But then I just go to bed and go to sleep. Next day morning when I wake up, half of those ideas are gone. And when by the time I reach my workplace, then all of them are gone. So what is the solution? Solution is that keep a small notepad and pen next to your bed. Whenever you get any suggestion, any idea, then you write down in just brief only. You can say keywords you can write down and just go to bed. In the morning when you wake up, then you go through that notepad, and those keywords will remind you as to what ideas can come to that came to your mind. Now, for different people, the different time period is there for having creative ideas. So understand your biological clock, understand your 24 hours, you can say creativity cycle, and try to find out at which particular point of time you happen to be more creative. You might have noted that some of the lyricists, they say that we can do creative work only early in the morning. As far as A.R. Rahman is concerned, so A.R. Rahman is having his recording studio in Chennai, and he starts working from 12 midnight on. So 12 midnight till the wee hours of the morning, early hours of the morning, 12 to 5 or something like that. During that time, Rahman will create his music. So different people have different cyclical times for this. So similarly, you might have noted that there are so many dreams that you experience while you are sleeping. Now, some people can have a very vivid recollection of those dreams. Some people have a very vague recollection of those dreams. But then suppose you are seeing a dream, and in the middle of the night, suddenly you wake up. So if you can jot down some of the points from those dreams, that can also help you in becoming more and more creative, because what you dream is your subconscious mind only. Always keep the computer handy so that you can enter more developed thoughts from your notepad. And so this notepad will have to be made more permanent in terms of you transfer them into some of your electronic device. And also, whenever feasible, get on the internet to do a search to find related ideas. So whenever you come across any new term or any new concept, then you try to go to the internet and try to search for it. Newspapers and magazines are also very good sources of developing your creativity. to invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. What happens that the ideas, either the ideas will not come at all, or the ideas will come flooding in, and you have to restructure them. You have to make out something meaningful out of those ideas, and like I was telling you, by connecting the dots. You, in order to be creative, you have to first be curious. There has to be a certain amount of curiosity in your mind. You should be curious that what IGNOU and other state universities are doing, what the world's best open universities, what they are doing. So your curiosity should not be killed. Be inquisitive. I have seen that many times the participants are having so many questions. But then when we open sessions like this, then initial hesitation or what others will think, what kind of question I'm asking, this and that. And so many of the peer pressure and all, they don't ask questions even though they have genuine queries to be resolved. So my tip to them is that be inquisitive. If you are inquisitive, if you keep on asking questions, then you can be very, very creative. I consider, I am in full agreement with Picasso, who said that every child is an artist. I say that every child is highly, highly, highly creative. And that is why you might have noted that they ask you so many questions. And sometimes to that extent that the parents become irritated with those questions. But then their curiosity is never ending. So you should have childlike curiosity, childlike ability to ask questions, and be tolerant of ambiguity, right? Some people are very methodical, very systematic, and they want to do the work in a very proper manner and all. So there the creativity will be less actually. Make connections, I have been telling in my lecture time and again. Positive discontent. You should agree to disagree. I have found that individually one can be creative, but in a group, the synergy makes them even much more creative. And so in a group, when you meet, listen to everyone, respect everyone's opinion, give everyone a chance to speak up and argue a lot, have discontent, but then final outcome will be really very good. Talk to others. That's what I'm saying, that have open communication channels. Try something new. If you want to be creative, you should be trying something new. For example, I liked it very much when I was informed that you have WhatsApp groups and Telegram groups are there. Then you can have individual faculty members can have their YouTube channels. University will be having their own YouTube channels and their Facebook presence and all. And so some of the small video clippings can be put up on those social media channels and all. Challenge yourself constantly. Become a restless person. Don't become contented. Keep on challenging, keep on asking. Constantly avoid saying, this is what we do. If you go to an organization and you ask them, ऐसे नहीं ऐसे कर लेते हैं, नहीं हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसे ही होता है. तो ये ऐसे ही होता आया है को हमें change करना है. Right? We have to avoid, this is what we keep on doing. So no, that is okay, but now think new and take risks. That is exactly the right thing. And we started with the 2 jars of the same size. Now here you see the courage of this fish, which had jumped from the jars on the left to the jar on the right. She was alone there, but now she wants to venture into a much larger this thing. You can say from river to ocean, you can say this. She wants to explore the whole sea. Except that any failure is a key to success. Today you may have failure on account of being creative and innovative, but then it does not mean that that is the end of the journey for you. But that will in future open up more doors of success for you. I have read somewhere that if one window is closed on you, be assured that God has made provisions that a bigger door will open for you in future. Failures are important if you are prepared to learn from them. So learn from your own failures, learn from others' failures also. Cultivate your great ideas like you cultivate trees and plants and all. Daydream. Some people say daydream is bad, but then daydream is also good for creativity. Give ideas time to grow. Even doing yoga nidra and meditation helps a lot in being creative and innovation. That's all I said, that this part I will not cover today. So I'll share with you some of the clippings, and then we'll end our session. Enjoy today because tomorrow will be even better.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. And now we are left with probably 5-6 minutes for questions, because you will be leaving at 12:15. So we are still having 5 minutes time for taking 1 or 2 questions, maybe.
Sure. I want to share one video, small video on Jugaad. Sharma sir mentioned Jugaad in his opening remarks. So
Right.
I just will share that video and then we'll have more questions.
Right.
पोथी पढ़ पढ़ जग मुआ सैटल हुआ न कोई ढाई आखर जुगाड़ पढ़े तो सेटिंग हो जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ अरे तुक्का मार कोई या कोई तीर मार कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ तुमको बचाना है तो फ्यूचर बनाना है तो यहाँ वहाँ से जहाँ से जो उखड़े उखाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ अरे उम्मीदों पे नहीं टिकी है दुनिया टिकी जुगाड़ पे दुनिया टिकी जुगाड़ पे ऊपर नीचे सभी जुगाड़ू भारी जुगाड़ू हैवी जुगाड़ तू भी झंडा गाड़ दे झंडा गाड़ दे अरे वक्त का घोड़ा जाए दौड़ा चढ़ा दौड़ के जेब में घुस जाए पैर किसी के पड़ जा दौड़ के तो बचाना है तो फ्यूचर बनाना है तो जहाँ वहाँ से जहाँ से जो उखड़े उखाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़ कर ले जुगाड़ कर ले कोई जुगाड़
बस क्वेश्चन आंसर पार्ट.
चारों तरफ
Yeah. So it was a humorous video, and Jugaad, though a Hindi word, but has found entry into the Oxford English Dictionary a few years ago. And I was reading a book on Jugaad technology. Both the authors were foreigners, actually. So they have called the name of the book Jugaad Technology to use it synonymously with frugal engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for this. The last part was really wonderful, actually. And then I'm reminded of a lot of innovations taking at the grassroots also. I think IIM Ahmedabad has a Srishti as a nodal agency where these grassroots innovations were actually documented. And then when you were saying this frugal innovation, just now I have got this book. You know, I'm reading actually on frugal innovation, art and science of frugal innovation.
Great.
So, thank you very much. So I think we have one question, which is again put by Bhaskar Sharma. Is there any relationship between creativity and risk? And then I think that is the most important thing to unlock the blocks that we have. Then probably that this is the main block that people don't want to take risk, and they are mostly risk averter. So that actually prevents this creativity kind of thing. I think that we can take. And it's almost 12:15, so I think that will be the last question probably, so that you can go for your meeting. And then after this, I will request Dopati Chaudhary to propose the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, Professor Joydeep and Dr. Bhaskar for asking this question. Actually, I am a professor of management, and we teach our student higher the risk, higher the return. So yes, if you want to be creative, then definitely the risk becomes higher. But then if it clicks, then the returns are also much more higher. And if you don't take any creative or innovative steps, then there is no risk. But then at the same time, your performance will also not be increasing in that particular with that speed. So that is there. Definitely risk is there, but this is the mental lock that we have to unlock actually, and it really blocks our creativity. So we'll have to take care of it. Take calculated and systematic risk. Don't be reckless. That's my suggestion.
Right. I think we are almost 12:16. So so we will end this session. I think many questions probably are there, but unfortunately we will not be able to take it. We are hoping for get another session probably to take those questions and all. So I request Dopati Chaudhary to kindly propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful workshop. On behalf of Center for Internal Quality Assurance, in short, CIQA, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Professor Karunesh Saxena, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sangam University, for accepting our invitation and for being us today and for such an encouraging talk. Your thoughts have truly inspired us, sir. Thank you, Professor N.N. Sharma, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of our university, for your inaugural speech. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to Professor Joydeep Barua, sir, Director and Professor Surya Kumar Bhuya School of Social Science, who handled the event throughout. I would also like to thank to all the participants who actively take part in this event. And finally, I would like to thank all the participants present here and making this event a grand success and memorable. And lastly, I would like to thank our registrar sir for his constant encouragement and help in all CIQA activities, including organizing the workshop. And lastly, I thank the IT team of our university who provide all logistic helps in making possible this virtual meet. Thank you all, and thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Saxena.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We'll be seeing you again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
अच्छा, ठीक है, thank you, sir.
मैं सर इसलिए आया अभी तो
जी सर।
कि बाहर के